Greetings, YouTube friends. Today, I'm joined by Marsilio, a trader and financial astrologer whose work sits at the intersection of market structure, technical analysis, and planetary timing. Trading requires each of us to discover our own edge, and that discovery is a process. Financial astrology can be applied in many different ways. And part of what makes this field so interesting is seeing how each trader develops their own framework. In this conversation, we explore Marsilio's system, how it works, which signals matter most, and how he tests his planetary edges, and how he brings technical analysis and astrology together into a practical trading framework. Hi, Marsilio, welcome.
Hello, Margo. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to get a download and share with the viewers a little bit about your history, how you came to financial astrology and trading, and then to share your system, because we work together a little bit on X. We have the financial astrology forum there, and I'm just excited to get a real-time look at your charts.
Sure thing. How do you want to start?
Well, do you want to just tell us a little bit about how you got involved in trading and eventually financial astrology?
Sure. Well, the trading part. So I've always been interested in the stock market, and I actually bought stocks with my own money in junior high. And I'm not young, so this is going to date me. Uh, it's, uh, this was part of like a junior high stock market unit, but I also used my own money that I had made mowing lawns and bought two stocks. This was actually during the 80s, and it was a roaring bull market. And then I thought things were getting really kind of too much frenzy, and I was like, I think I should sell. And that turned out to be 1 month before the crash in 87.
Wow.
And so adults who knew I had stocks were like, "Oh, how you doing?" And I said, I'm good. I sold a month ago." So I anyway, I when I went to college, I thought I was going to go to Wall Street, but life took a different turn. Came out here instead. And then during the 90s, I was running a simple service business, but of course, obviously aware of the market, but not really trading. And a girlfriend at the time would carry around an astrology calendar. I knew nothing about astrology, but she'd say things like, "Oh, today looks like a good day. I might see the market go up," or, "Oh, this is a bad day, something conjunct Saturn, blah, blah, blah." I didn't know anything about it, and it'd drop. And I think I need to check into that. So after the service business kind of slowed down, I started reading an astrology book, and for some reason gravitated towards having a real-time astrology clock on my screen. And at the time, I really felt like, wow, I can almost tune into this, and I would see the effect. So I just got completely captivated by astrology. And then at the same time, I was watching markets because then the dot-com, was coming apart and it was crashing. So I'd see market dropping and some things to the minute. And so I thought, oh, I'm just going to learn how to trade and turn my $10,000 into $1 million, and it's going to be so easy. But I didn't know what I was doing at all at the time. There was only the ES futures, which was pretty big. So I had no clue. I was just starting my journey of learning technical analysis. And of course, I busted that $10,000 account, even with astrology, because I go into a panic. It was just too large of a contract. And even to this day, I trade micros because I can trade. It's much easier to scale in, scale out. Because to trade like 5 or 10 lots of the big boy ES contract, that's a lot of money going up and down, where the micros are easier. Anyway, that's my story. Um, and Many years ago, I had a blog that I was doing a lot of forecasting, and I've made a lot of successful forecasts in the market, short term, long term, etc. And just gradually, learning how to take advantage and execute on those forecasts. That's the quick version.
That's awesome. So you focus primarily on trading the S&P, right?
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, I do have investment accounts, but in terms of my trading, I really like intraday. Even now when I'm swing trading, it's kind of I'm trying to do it all, but right now my focus is intraday, and I trade futures during the day and also same day expiry options. That's really my biggest trading is the same day expiry options on SPY.
Yeah, the zero DTE options trading really took off in the last, I don't know, 3 to 5 years. So that's awesome. You want to show us your intraday trading system that you use to trade the short-term
Yeah.
intraday, and you call them wiggles, right?
Yeah, so I'll get to the Wiggles chart, but I'd like to start out with the technical chart and then get to the timing. Because I
Great.
actually take signals just on technicals, but the Wiggles inform the sizing in some ways, and also just my view of the market and the character. But I have a micro ES futures contract open, and I use the same technical system across time frames. Like this is a 1 minute chart, but I use the same.
We can't see your chart
Oh,
yet.
whoops. Let's see.
There we go.
There we go. Um, so this is a 1 minute chart, and I have a few different things on it. Um, on within the price window are just simple moving averages, 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, and 325. And they're color coded. So when the slope is up, they're in color other than red. When the slope is down, they're red. So I'm looking for MACD crosses or a trending environment. Big money is made on a trending environment when they're all or 5 out of 6 of the moving averages are sloping up and down. You see, I also have like a summary pane. I'm going to try and make that more clear. That tells me how many of the moving averages are sloping up or down. And it just refers to the current bar. So this morning, I'm like, so if there's a MACD cross and like this was 1020, 1026. I mean, it would take a little bit longer to go through all my rules. Like I watch the 61 fibs also because often there's a reaction to those. I don't want to take an entry often the first time it hits a 61 fib. But for example, I'm looking for moves like this, like all moving averages sloping down, MACD turns down, that's money. And then here's another one, money. Here's another one, money. And then this one is a cross up, and there was a chance for a gain, but at that time it's counter trending coming off the low. So I might pass that one or keep tighter risk control or just not, go for a few points instead of a big move. And then in the afternoon, there was another cross up here, 1 o'clock. And it was still, this was just off the lows. We had a successful test. But why did that completely change character? Yes, there was a low test, but now I'm going to get to my wiggles, which are Astro timing events intraday. And here's an example. So I'm kind of going back and forth and looking at the technicals versus the timing. And in this chart, the dots are moves into that time that can, not always, but can form a higher low right near. So like here's a good example. This was pre-market. There was a little high right there. Now we're into the session. There's a bounce high near these two. And so those are the dotted lines into that time. Not all of them work, not all of them, but here, we had a key high just a couple minutes away and very near the low of the day. It's like the actual low. Well, let's see. It's a low test, double bottom, closing low, very key low here, 1252. So those are the dots. And then the solid lines are from that time onward. So they're in play the whole period of time until the next one changes. And so there was a blue line change right at 1 o'clock, and that completely changed the environment. So I knew
Mhm.
that today, and along here, and I don't know exactly how to respond. But I said, wow, this is really moving well. This could go a while. And it doesn't mean the whole time is straight up, but there was a big change from the morning period that was trending down and afternoon trending up. And from my view, we had the price action of a low test, somewhat of a turnaround Tuesday, maybe also, but this really changed the scene. So that's how I use them. Just gives me some context for what's going on. And sometimes we get some turns on the dots.
That's awesome. So the dark blue lines are giving you kind of almost like a change in tone of the market, or a set tone, right? A period of time. And
Yeah.
then the dotted lines are where you're maybe looking for a pivot on that time frame.
Yes.
Very cool. Yeah, I think one of the prime things that I mean, I know how I use financial astrology, and it seems that a lot of people in the financial astrology space were able to identify turning points because correlated to planetary cycles or events, right? Because the planetary cycles and events, uh, I could say, would pulse energy, right? And human beings and computers make choices, and or the humans that monitor the computers anyway, that then changes the tones in the market. I guess is like kind of how I view it. Um,
Yeah, totally. And what's amazing is that even to this day, despite all the algos and all the computerized trading and now the AI trading, we're still seeing moves sometimes to the minute on astrology.
yeah,
So that just blows my mind every day. I love seeing, and it really, financial astrology appeals to me because we can do personal readings and say you're like this and you're like this or whatever. And sometimes you can get major life events, but in the markets, it's very objective. It's up, down, how much, up, down, sideways, how much, how long. And I really like to see it just playing out so clearly and objectively.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was a trader first, but I mean, I've always loved astrology. And then I became an astrologer, and then I put them together because I just really quickly realized I have a knack for data. I'm an accountant also, and so I was amazed at how immediately you get the feedback from the markets based on the astrological events. It never fails to amaze me, actually.
Totally. I mean, it's amazing. We are looking at the universe, and, because these planetary aspects are like billion miles away, and there it is, like to the few minutes sometimes. There's just I can go on and on in terms of all these different cycles. Well beyond intraday, like the planetary events in all their myriad of complexities playing out in markets. I view it like a kaleidoscope. Like the pieces behind the kaleidoscope window are the same, but they're always combining in unique ways. And so you never really know how it's going to turn out, but that's the game of it.
Yeah, that is the game. That's the game of the markets, right? Is embracing the uncertainty.
Right. It's a
Um,
thrill to see it and be on the right side of the trade, though. That's it's pretty thrilling.
that is definitely one of the greatest thrills. um, so I would love to see. I know that you also have produced financial astrology data through. You were using Tableau, and I think you've got some new systems that you're using. I would love to see or to share with the viewers a little bit about how you present that.
Sure. Let's start with some basic planetary data that I have in Tableau. And let's see. Gotta change. Okay, so I've shifted gears here, and this is some data on the planet Mars. So what I've done in Tableau is calculate average daily percent return. And it's easy to say, oh, well, who cares about the difference between 0.14% or 0.05% per day? But that's not really the point. The point is strength over time and what is this going to support the market or be weaker, etc. So this is this chart is showing from 2010 current on the S&P, bull markets only, which means above the daily 200 moving average, because I find there's a big difference between bull market data and bear market data. And when I look at all data combined, it's easy to make erroneous assumptions because of the bear market influence. And so we're in a bull market, so I don't think the bear market data is that relevant. And similarly, if you're in a bear market, the bull market data is less relevant because the planets, the way people feel and act based on the astrology really depends on the market environment. In any case, one of the reasons I was bullish for April was Mars entering Aries was strongest sign. It's kind of nice to see. It doesn't always work this way, but the strongest data for Mars is Aries and Scorpio, signs that it rules. So that I like to see that, but it doesn't always work that way. But it did play out this time again that Mars and Aries was a huge rocket for the market. And one of the reasons why I think the momentum top is nearby or the RSI top doesn't mean the actual trading high, but the rocket that we've seen is likely to end is because Mars is going to Taurus in a week. So it doesn't mean necessarily down in a bull market, but the strength should be less.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is geocentric data, which I know is what you track wholly. That, I actually, just as I was listening to you talk about this, put together a correlation is that I track heliocentric Mars through the signs of Taurus and Scorpio specifically. And I'm not looking at momentum so much as I've been looking at like swing trading pivots. And there is a very high correlation to a shift in tone or regime when heliocentric Mars hits the signs of Taurus and Scorpio. And the two things for the planet, the closer into the sun a planet gets, the further the bigger difference there is between its geocentric location and its heliocentric location. So they aren't going to align perfectly, but I think it's mid-June when heliocentric Mars gets into Taurus. So what's the exact change date for geocentric Mars?
The 19th.
The 19th of May. Okay. Yes, interesting. Very interesting. That's awesome. I love how you present your data because it's so palatable. It's so easy to look at that and understand exactly what's going on.
Thank you. Yeah, it was I really like the data behind all this. And a long time ago, I got it into Tableau, and I love using Tableau, and I love the just seeing it graphically. But just now, recently, just this week, got my data into Claude, and I'll show you. Let's see if I can get a chart. Hold on just a minute. One of the things that's really interesting is simply day of the week returns, which tend to have these streaks. And I'm going to pull one up. Let's see. Just need to switch the sharing. So this one is, let's see,
Not seeing it yet.
not seeing it.
Yeah, there's definitely seems to be a tone that goes with the days of the week for long periods of time, and they do tend to shift. Have you noticed any patterns of like the duration of time it takes that tone to shift?
No, I haven't figured that out yet, though I do think some of it is connected to astrology condition. But it's not always so easy. Like Jupiter in Cancer, you'd think exalted, that's going to be up, but Thursdays have been down, the weakest for quite some time. Um, Hold on. Sorry, I'm not getting this. I have different apps here that I'm trying to oh, let's see. Oh, here we go. Yeah, you should be able to see the returns by weekday for
Hmm.
S&P. So this is just showing this calendar year from January 1st to May 1st. And we see that Mondays and Wednesdays were where the money has been made this year,
Yeah.
and Thursdays have been weaker, and Tuesdays and Fridays have been comparatively flat. Nothing is 100%. You'll see that the individual days do go up and down, but Wednesday has the hot hand because the lower panel shows the last let's see, one, two, three, four, six trading days. And Wednesdays have been all up, but still the bars on the main panel just show average for the year. So that's the version in Tableau. And
That's a real edge. That's a great data edge, especially for intraday traders. And
yeah, a swing also, just having the confidence that like what so today the dip was bought, but there are a few reasons why I think it'll probably continue into tomorrow. And one of them is just Wednesdays have been strung up and also have the hot hand.
yeah.
Um, Now I want to share the Claude version, which isn't as graphically pretty because I just got this going this literally this week. Um, let's see, but it shows a running strength score. So here's the same data, but instead of a static, it's just going, a strength score combines the average up, average down, and frequency up, frequency down of the same 5 weekdays. I don't even have the same colors on them. I literally just got this done like yesterday. And we could see Mondays started doing well, or, so these will bounce around, but this is each kind of dot in the line is based on the last 10 weekdays of that type. So this is the last 10 Mondays, the last 10 Tuesdays, last 10 Wednesdays, last 10 Thursdays, last 10 Fridays. And it's including the average up, average down, but also the frequency up, frequency down to create a strength score. And we see Mercury, the Wednesdays has a hot hand and been increasing, whereas Thursday has been consistently weak, all through this time.
Yeah, I love this. This visualization is great. And this is an awesome new layout that you created. It makes it easy to just, take a quick scan and see where you're at.
Yeah,
Um,
a lot more to come because I use the planet terms a lot, and I feel like I have good data on those. So what I'm working towards, which hopefully is oops, getting a delivery. I'm going to let that go. Uh, Sorry, but then my dog might start barking. Is to kind of have a like a combined algo of what I think are the different components that move the market short term. And it would be completely free of astro lingo so that just come in and be like, okay, the strength score, it might combine the moon quarter, the moon sign, moon term, weekday, like that, and other planets in terms, and see how it all combines. And so that's my vision of what I'm working towards.
That's very cool. Is that something you're building just for yourself, or is that something you think you might release to the public
I
someday?
might release in a Discord. I might release it. I've been talking about that for years now, but I had a few different delays that I won't get into.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, hopefully this year.
Very cool. Very cool. That's awesome. Before we wrap up, I would love to see your yearly pivots. If you were able to share those this morning when we were in the financial astrology forum, you mentioned the half yearly pivot, and I found that to be very interesting.
Sure. Just going to share a different screen.
While you're getting your screen fired up, I was also curious, since you're an intraday trader, what does your daily routine look like? Do you wake up and apply the like do you check where you're at in the planetary cycles and check out your pivots and then focus on price action? Um,
Yeah, when I come in, I do like to just view the main indexes and where we are on the ETFs before the market opens, because that'll give context for an intraday move. But I just kind of go from daily to 4 hour to 30 minutes, 15 minute to 5 minute, and just see where things are. For intraday trading, I'm really focused on 30, 15, 5. But I do want to know if we're bumping up against a big level. So a long time ago, I started seeing there was a lot of action on the daily. This was back when I was doing the hedge fund consulting, and I would see turns. I had all these different indicators, and I was trying to figure out, what worked technically. But I would see important turns on pivots. And at the time, I had access to a Bloomberg, so I pulled up pivots, and the pivots that Bloomberg had were daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, half yearly, and yearly. And so the more I looked at them, I was like, these are awesome. So here's an example of why. So I coded in TradingView, you can get all these pivots except the half year, but I coded my own version with the half year pivot included. So this is the S&P, and this is a weekly chart. And I have just the yearly pivot and half year pivot. So what I like about the pivots is the price does not change for the duration of the pivot. They're not like a moving average or anything else, because the yearly pivot will be the same price all year. The half year pivot levels will be the same price from January 1st to the end of the second quarter. And then we get new half year pivots starting the first trading day in July. So here, this green line that's going from January to the end of June, that's half year support one. And that's where the low was. And so when we get a situation where multiple main indexes are on major levels, and there's sentiment extreme, and there's a big Astro timing change, that's often when we get big turns in markets. And the low of the year is S&P half year S1, support one. NASDAQ was also bang on its half year S1 and nearly tested its yearly pivot. Russell was bang on the half year pivot, like literally exact.
yeah.
And that's the way it works. There was also a sentiment extreme per put call. That's why I look at that. So now the scene has changed, and NASDAQ blasted through its yearly R1, but it was kind of tested today. I'll go to daily chart on QQQ. It was kind of back testing this yearly R1 level, and so far it responded in a bullish fashion. In the space today, I said, VIX is not really going to be too bothered about this as long as it stays below 19. Well, that was based on the VIX half-year pivot here, that if there's trouble in markets, VIX is going to get moving up, and because smart money is concerned. not too concerned because it stayed below 19 and even finished the day below the 200 moving average. So I like combining the indexes and VIX and a few other key asset classes on these technical levels for a big picture holistic view of the market.
That's very cool. Did you build those the pivots levels yourself into a trading view indicator?
Yeah, what I did was just add the capacity to show the half year pivots, but this is why, right? Because here are the big turns
Yeah.
of the year were main indexes on half year pivots. So that's proven my view of why they're important. Although trading view, if anyone wants that, you can get in touch with me through X or Gmail or my email, which is you can find through my link tree through X, and request that script that allows the half year pivots.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. This is very cool. Thank you for walking us through your system. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm very interested. I'll hit you up after this. I'd like to experiment with them myself. um,
One more thing while I'm looking
yeah,
at the VIX chart, I just want to point out the high of the year in VIX is bang on the half year R2 up here. That
yeah,
was it.
that's exceptional. Those are some great levels. Very cool. So just to wrap things up, I guess let's what's the outlook then for right now? We talked about it in the X forum this morning, but I guess just to wrap it up here for the YouTube viewers, it sounds like with Mars making its way into Taurus, we might be looking for a little bit of the momentum to drop off.
Yeah, I think so. It's a more conservative sign. At the same time, Venus going out of Gemini into Cancer. Um, so you know, and that's going to be ruling the Mars, right? So Cancer is a more cautious, risk-averse sign, but it's not necessarily down, especially in a bull market environment. But Cancer, the crab, can move sideways, right? It scuttles sideways. So I mean, so far everything's still bullish, and we're not near a big sentiment extreme. We just had a major sentiment extreme. With a lot of fear, both daily and weekly, and usually those takes time to work off. But still, the momentum, the rocket fuel should be over, and I'm basing that on Mars out of Aries into Taurus and Venus out of Gemini into Cancer, just being a little more cautious and not having quite the same. If Venus and Gemini is definitely supporting all the data and AI trade. And so we might see some rotation out into other sectors. Maybe we get the healthcare rally that you're thinking about with that movement, but it's just up at a slower pace or some sideways consolidation, et cetera, is what I expect.
Very good. Awesome. Yeah, I share that sentiment. I think we're at least in a period here where we're due for some constructive, healthy consolidation. And then that's what I'm watching for, is to see if that rotation happens, which, today it did. When we saw the NASDAQ and the S&P down, we saw XLV and XLF both make big moves up. So that's what we want to see to keep the overall markets up.
Right. I mean, S&P finished almost flat, which was amazing recovery, but NASDAQ's still nearly down 1%, and semiconductors down 2.5%, 3%. But I think this is the impact of rates. Rates are coming apart a little bit and near there. Let's see where TLT finished. The long-term rates, yeah, they're basically at the low. So the 10-year and the 30-year at highs for the year, and so that's going to pressure the tech trades and the higher growth stocks. That keeps on moving.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I think that TLT is probably on the verge of a bit of a breakdown I have like a 27-month cycle, or sorry, a 29-month cycle and a 27-week cycle low that are due anytime this summer. Basically in June, I think, is the 27-week, and then the 29-month cycle low is just it was due March, but it gets a 6-month orb. So that's kind of then when I look to the lower time frame cycles.
Yeah, one other thing that I'll point out about the pivots is that most asset classes, most years, if they're above the yearly pivot, they will reach the yearly R1. And similarly, if it's below the yearly pivot, will often reach yearly S1. So the 10-year yield was below the yearly pivot, but did not reach the yearly S1. But now it's above the yearly pivot. So there's potential for the 10-year yield to go up to 4.7. So right now, that's kind of base case. And for TLT, since it's below the yearly pivot, that would mean down to has the rest of the year to get to 82.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
that
that could happen.
I think that could happen too. I actually wouldn't rule out a retest of that weekly support, monthly and weekly support zone, um, at some point here this year.
When you say monthly,
Um, so if you just go back, because it's been TLT has been in a tightening range for, I don't know. Let's see, you've got the chart there since at least for 2 years, I think. If you go
I
back to
can go
the,
to a weekly chart on
yeah, go
TLT.
to the weekly chart. There we go.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah, I mean, this does
back
look like,
there in let's see, 2023. Yep.
yeah,
The low back there. So I wouldn't, that's pretty close to the yearly
yeah, as
R1?
it turns out,
Oh yeah.
pretty much right on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I was anticipating for a retest there. And if we hold, then that would make a nice reversal zone. But certainly it's with that degree of weakness, it's at risk of that losing that zone. Although I'm not ready to make that call just yet. So
Yeah, I'm a trend trader and I like to be, long in strong environments and avoid bear market assets or be short.
yeah.
But when often there'll be a reaction if you're going to take a counter trend trade, the big pivot levels are the most likely place for that to work. Like here's the Russell. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
it literally, this is why I still use that. Like exact on the half year pivot, low of the year there on the Russell. And then the next day said, huge recovery of not only the half year pivot, but the rising daily 200 moving average and still trending up.
Yeah, that's great. Those levels are really, really excellent.
They
Very
don't
cool.
always work as perfectly as that, but I still see them in play on not just indexes, individual stocks, cryptos, um, bonds, ETFs, currencies, everything. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's with any indicator, right? Like nothing is going to give you 100% signal 100% of the time. That's where our technical analysis comes in and being able to read price action and know what our rules are and what triggers a trade for us. And when you see it coming down into that level, just like that, I mean, that's that. And then you get the timing to align too. And those are the prime setups. That's what I really have come to focus on very high confluence trades. I've become very, very picky. I used to actually be an intraday trader when I first started for the first probably 5 years that I was trading, maybe even a little longer. And then I've just slowly switched to swing trading because I find myself more consistently more profitable with a higher percent gain when I swing trade. And, I think some of that comes down to people's individual nature too, and your chart. That's something that I do with people too in individual readings is we look at people's charts and see, a lot of times people wonder, are they cut out for short-term trading? And I think that there's definitely a particular profile of people that really thrive in that environment versus those that have that a little bit more of that Venusian kind of trading style.
Yeah, completely agree. Intraday, I'm comfortable taking on big risk because I can monitor it, every minute I'm moving my stop or scaling in, scaling out. I can select the sizing that I want. And then at night, I'm not really thinking about it. I don't want to be checking the market. I want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
For me, I like having some swing trades on, and I agree with you that get the right move, it's easier. But for me, the high leverage, I just do intraday because I can control the risk and not really worry about it. So that, but I agree that our own makeup is going into that. And I'm not saying this is an advantage at all. I wish my my mind was slower sometimes, but for whatever I just, as an example, my Mercury is moving quite fast. And so I love the fast-paced action of intraday. So that could be one way that's playing out.
Yeah, that absolutely. I use heliocentric charts to look at that too. I look at where people's heliocentric Mercury is because that tells me, how quick it's moving. I mean, there are other ways you can probably look at it, but that's how I like to look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Very cool. Well, this is awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. Do you want to tell the viewers where they can find you?
Sure. I'm on X. I post a little bit, but been running these spaces, and our view from the spaces has been right. Don't really need to update because often they've been right. I work with a few clients one-on-one, but the link tree on my X profile has connection to my site, marsiliomusing.com, or marsiliomusing@gmail.com. X, and the Tableau actually has a ton of stuff on there for free. My Tableau public profile, which is also you can find on the link tree. You can explore all these different planetary positions, motion, sign, and term for all the traditional planets, and select indexes for multiple main indexes. And there's versions for cryptos as well. So all that is on my Tableau public profile that's free.
Awesome. Thank you. And for the viewers, I'll put the links in the video description below, And then if anybody's trying to connect with me, the links will be in the video description below there too. You can go to my website, margoamala.com. Or you can, just click any of the various links to join my Discord or my Patreon. But thank you so much, Marsilio, for joining me. This was awesome. I love doing these interviews. I get to learn so much and share with the viewers too. So I hope you have a great week. And to all the viewers, I'll see you next time.
Thanks again. Bye, everybody.
Bye.